speaker today is Jim Walker, who is CEO, lead artist, and co-founder of Big Car Arts Collaborative, which is now based down in the Garfield Park neighborhood. Jim is fresh off a big event down in New Orleans, so we're thankful that he could make it with us this morning. And he's going to talk about the power of place and placemaking. All of your projects have a place-based aspect because they will take place in a place, in a neighborhood, right? So we want you to think about that. Are there ways that you can multiply the impact on the place to make some change happen? So, welcome, Jim.
So I'm Jim Walker, and like Brad said, I'm with Big Car. How many of you guys have ever been to a thing of ours, like some Spark thing, the City Market, or Tooth Factory? Great. So I'm going to focus on placemaking. I have a really big slideshow that covers a lot of different stuff. So sometimes I call this placemaking 101, and it's not because it's a 101 level, it's because I have 101 slides. So I think there are more than that now, but I breeze right through it. So our mission is to bring art to people and people to art, and sparky creativity in lives to support communities. And that's what we've been doing. We've been around since 2004. We do a lot of work in the Garfield Park neighborhood, but also work statewide and around in other areas of the city. There's how you can get a hold of me, find our stuff. So the focus of our talk today is called Places for People, and that's really what placemaking is all about. It's about making places that are designed for people, that are human scale, human-oriented locations. So I'm going to talk about a couple of examples that are different than what you might see when you're out in public spaces, and that's starting with your own home, and this is my house, Garfield Park. And my favorite space in the house is the kitchen. And when I think about places for people and what makes a place a good place for me, and what I like, there's this one spot in our house that I like to sit. So if you come in our house, you can find me there most of the time, reading the paper, working, talking to my family. And there's something about that particular location there that makes it where I want to be. There's a little star. And the reasons are because that's a comfortable place, it's a secure place because I'm in the corner and I have the back wall against me. I also have the light that I want to have. It's a very well lit spot, and it's a social spot so I can see my kids coming through or my wife, and then I can also do stuff like I can have a cup of coffee, I have the paper there, I have my computer, I can be active in that spot. So outside of the house, there's another place I like to go, and that's how many people have been to General American Donuts. So this is in the neighborhood. You look at the layout, I like drawing these little sketches of places for no reason really. But the spot that I want to be, it's kind of like my kitchen. Can anybody guess where? Brad, you want to try and guess?
Top left.
So your spot, when you look at the layout of this place, so yes, is going to be where it says yes, right over there. And that is, for me, because of that spot over there where the star is, it gives me that same set of these vision, the sociability. So I sit there, people come in, and I say hi, and see different people from the neighborhood, and then I have stuff again. I have coffee, I have donuts. So in a larger example, this is in Chinatown, San Francisco. You look at the layout of this place and what they're doing. They're really making a comfortable spot for people. They have cover, which includes even the lights that are hanging up above, so it makes it feel like it's more of a contained space, and people like that. You've got a narrow street, you've got a secure place, you've got sociability with lots of people around, you've got lots of access, and you have food and drink options. So when you see a little street like this, and you have an option to turn on it, you're going to do that probably. So we start to think about, well, what is placemaking and what isn't placemaking? So there's a lot of overuse or misuse of this term, in my opinion, that is really talking about place building. And there's nothing wrong with place building. People need to build places, but placemaking and what we're talking about today and the way that we're referring to it is really more like taking the concepts that we were talking about which is in your kitchen or in your donut shop, and looking at how that can apply to public spaces and even to kind of third spaces that can be inside spaces. And a lot of what you're working on here is really making a place into a place for people. So what gives you that are really some of the same things we were just talking about. It's a safe place, it feels comfortable. The safety focus in a made place is really more about the user and the visitor than about keeping the place safe from outside forces. So sometimes we'll go to a place and we can tell that it's being made safe because they don't want anything to happen to the stuff that's there. They don't want the dish to have somebody sleeping on it. They don't want the furniture to get stolen. They don't want somebody to damage something. This safety is really about the people. So feeling safe, feeling comfortable. It needs to be inviting and welcoming. A lot of that is really about having signage or having a path that's really clear so you know that you can go in there and that you're included in there and it's not for somebody else. It's also accessible in terms of physically accessible. So a place that is made is something that people can get to, they feel safe, they can access it. It's also a place that's in the flow of movement where there's already people coming through. So sometimes people want to build a place, but they put it somewhere where no one ever goes, and they are not going to be able to get to it, and that makes it difficult for it to be a place that's made. Comfort is very important. A lot of that is really around shelter from the sun, from the cold in the winter, and also having places for humans to do basic things that they need to do, use a restroom, get something to drink, something to eat. Places that are built sometimes lack those qualities, and so then a human is there, and that human says, I need to use the restroom, I'm just going to leave. So then they don't stay very long. So a made place is a place like a good party where you would want to stay at the party, not just be there for a minute and leave because there's no restroom at the party, there's no food and drink at the party, and it's out in the sun, and you just bake. And no one likes parties like that. So they're inclusive, they're designed and programmed for all ages, they're made for everybody. They're fun and active with people. So a lot of research and a lot of common sense tells you that people are attracted to people. If they see a line of people trying to go in a place, they might not even know why people are going in there, but they're going to get in line because something's good about where everybody's lined up to go. So that's what people want. People want to be around other people. They also want to have choices. So a place that's made is not one where you're only given one choice, where you don't have any control, where you just go there and do what you're told. No one likes that either. So places that are made give you a lot of choices. And this term that I have here, that rule of 10 plus, comes from Project for Public Spaces. And that's really a place that's made has 10 things or more that you can do in that place. So you come in here, you've got these different options. You get something to drink, you can read a book, you can talk to your friend, listen to music, you can play on the slide, whatever it is. So on my way here, I rode my bike here from Garfield Park. There's a lot of birds between here and there, and a lot of limes. And I was looking at where they are and where they aren't. So places that are made have birds and limes. Places that are built where there's no people, they don't have them there. Because they aren't going to put their scooters where there's no people. And really, you can't think about placemaking as a thing that's happening where no people go and where people aren't at. That's just not placemaking. So we're going to breeze through the whole history of Big Car real quick. So we started in 2006, Fountain Square, a lot of dancing, a lot of having fun. We didn't know what we were doing really, and we started to work on lots of things, and we saw that in the neighborhood where we lived, and we saw that there was a lot of transition in the way that things were in Fountain Square. So this is the intersection of, what is that? St. Patrick and Virginia. And so then that changed really quickly into what it is now. So that's over the course of just 10 years. And we were there during a lot of that transition. We also transitioned our approach from a gallery space that was primarily featuring artists to one that began to feature visitors. So we were really shifting the dynamic from an audience that's here and artists that are over here to bringing them together. A lot of that happened when we started working on a project that was funded through a Ginny Imagine Big grant that was a partnership with INRC that brought us to several neighborhoods, a lot of neighborhoods that you guys are connected with going back in time that were all Ginny neighborhoods, and we brought art projects like this one, which was in Saraga Market and International Marketplace in Lafayette Square area, and we did things in places like grocery stores, or Scouts Test Nature Park, or different community centers. And what we started to learn about was what we were doing and what we were thinking about were really interventions that brought art and community building to neighborhoods as an approach, as a tactic to intervene and address challenges and do that in creative ways. So this book, which I'll also reference it later, is something that you might want to look at, was really about what was going on at that time. We were in the middle of the recession. We were doing some things that were what Project for Public Spaces called Lighter, Quicker, Cheaper, but we were testing out ideas. And then around that same time, creative placemaking became a term. And really what that is what we were doing too, that these were artist-led approaches to community building and collaborations that really supported a community. At that time we were working in multiple communities, but our focus was on Fountain Square on one side and then our move out to Lafayette Square. But in all of this work, the key ingredient is always working with people, including people, and having people be part of what's going on. So, back to the place building versus placemaking, really what we're doing is trying to figure out how to work with people and make life a happier place for them, not by our standards, but by their standards, and also do things like this Family Fun Day that we did out at Lafayette Square that really brought people together, included them, and had us teaming up. So this is a project we did with LaShawna Crow Storm, who was a public ally with us at that point. She's an artist here in town now and still part of our group, where we grew the ingredients to a pizza, and that number 2 there was we took it and got it milled out at the state fair, which was really awesome. We made flour and made the dough and cooked it in a pizza oven made by another public ally. So this is really kind of the quick history of Lafayette, of what we did at Lafayette Square at Service Center. We transformed this parking lot into this public space, and we took this interior space and made it into an active place. A lot of that was just learning from things that we researched, building on pavement, making garden on pavement like they did. This is in San Francisco at their city hall. We designed, had a good plan, and they brought so much mulch that we just made an even bigger garden. And so this is what we had. How many people have experienced this in person down there? Okay. So people got crazy and built their own DNA beds, but all kinds of things grew. Lots of people were involved. Giant sweet potatoes that we traded for pies at locally grown gardens, which was like a crowning achievement. It's all been downhill since then. Huge sunflowers. One of the beautiful things that we've been figuring out with our garden now in Garfield Park is out there. It was really nice because there are no varmints around, so squirrels weren't knocking over our sunflowers or anything, because nothing else is really alive around out there. Some things, but not many birds. So we did more work. We were there. We had lots of parties again, skateboarders, people enjoying things, murals, kids visiting. Lots of one-on-one kind of activities, lots of international celebrations. We did a big celebration around the Super Bowl, had a nice place to work outside, and we really felt like, and by all accounts, were able to make this into a place. And again, we found this book that was really good. There's a new issue of it, or a new edition of it called How to Turn a Place Around. And that is it's released by Project for Public Spaces. So we found this book and when we were in the middle of it, and we were happy to see that we were really to check off all the things that we were accomplishing. So you had lots of things here, social, that they said in the book that we were accomplishing. So we were making a social space. We were doing our best out there. We were on a bike lane, but Lafayette Road, if you've ever been on Lafayette Road, is not great to bike on. But we were also in front of a bus stop, and we built the bus stop out to have seating and made it really much more comfortable spot for people to get on and off the bus, to go to the mall and visit us. We focused a lot on the comfort of the space. The garden itself is really there as a demonstration. Its primary role was to keep people from driving through that parking lot, because people drive all crazy out there, and they were not going to let us be comfortable. So if somebody brought their kids and they were outside, they wouldn't know if someone was just going to come home through there. Lots of group activities. Different ages enjoyed using the space. And we kept this power of 10 plus going, where there are lots of choices. Even when we were closed, you could visit the chickens, you could do lots of other activities, you could get creative. And then people felt comfortable in showing affection. And one of the things that book talks a lot about is when you see a successful public space, you'll see people sitting next to each other, holding hands, being affectionate, because they feel really comfortable there, like they're almost like they're at home. So some of the tips here that are helpful and programmatic things you can do. People really like surprises, fun surprises, not scary surprises, but sometimes you can do both. Stories, a good way to include people is to ask for their stories. So have them share stories about their neighborhood, have them tell about themselves. Now, people like to talk about themselves, and a lot of times people don't ask. So animals are always good. People love to see pets, and there are different groups around town who will bring out different kinds of exotic, interesting animals, and also you can have chickens, and you can always figure out ways to make that work. Give people a lot of say-so. So you're not making a lot of rules for them, you're really giving people all kinds of options. And value the cultural exchanges that are possible. So what can you learn from each other culturally? The international marketplace is amazing in this way, and it's one of the reasons that we wanted to be out there, because this is a culturally rich place. But all of our neighborhoods are, like Maureen was saying, and we all have these assets that we can share. Involve visitors in building and shaping the place. So it's not just you doing it, you're involving people in it. So people love sensory experiences. You gotta keep it flexible, make it all ages, make it interactive, and offer a lot of opportunities for visitors to learn and to teach. So it's an equal thing. You're not there to teach everybody. You don't know more than them. You can really learn from each other and with each other. Some more things. Music's always good. Dancing is good. With music, don't make it too loud that it blocks out the social aspect of what's going on there. Don't make it so that the event is all about being passive and watching some performers, but figure out how to make it be something that you can get involved in, you can play. People like getting free stuff. You can do that with a variety of approaches. Sometimes that can include food and drink, but we found that that isn't always necessary. So having food trucks, having drinks that you can purchase are both options for these events. And then as artists, we like to make sure that we have art and creativity, but we like to make it so that it includes everybody. So there's no barrier of entry to participating in the art. So you don't have to be an artist, you don't have to have any experience with art, you can feel very comfortable. So we're really fast forwarding through a lot of things. So now we aren't at Lafayette Square. The mall had an agreement with us that if somebody wanted to come in and pay rent, we were getting a pretty good deal out there, free-ish. And they said, so our deal was we have to get out. If somebody came in and pay rent, somebody said they were going to pay rent. The first round they didn't, but we had to move out anyway because that was found out later. And now there is an active tenant in there, and they even have a food truck all the time. And it's kind of a different sort of placemaking, but it's still something good. It's a locally owned business with lots of things going on. So from there, we were kind of in transition, and this is when I started working with Callie, who's one of our DMT friends, and we did a project on Monument Circle that you may have experienced. There's some more of me making a lot of notes that real architects and people like that really love getting from me. And so we activated the space, tested out some ideas. We learned a lot of things from doing that, and formed a lot of really good partnerships and expanded our partnerships with a lot of organizations and artists. A lot of what we were doing down there was really testing out the idea of expanding the pedestrian zone out into the street limiting car zone a bit, and it worked out. There were a lot of people concerned about that, but it worked out to be very successful. And at some point in time, it'd be nice if we could bring this back into town, or into the circle. We also were able to acquire a bunch of stuff, chairs, that wagon of wonders, playground in a box, picnic tables, and a lot of these things are still being used in a lot of other ways around the community. How many of you guys experienced that personally down there? Like, I'm going to just skip on that. So, one of the things we also learned, that was a pretty well-funded project. We had $400,000 to spend, which is a lot for us. So we were working with the city, working with the NEA, working with CICF, and we also had funds available for doing a lot of data tracking and analysis. So we counted our visitors, we counted our programming, we did a lot of surveys, we involved a lot of artists, and we spent a lot of money back in the community in a local way. So sometimes these kinds of projects will go to spending a lot of money on a big band that comes in from out of town. This was all spent in Indianapolis and supported Indianapolis artists and businesses. We actually brought in $200,000 from the National Endowment for the Arts into the local community, supported the local businesses who reported an increase in sales, and saw that our investment was also resulting in people spending way more time on the circle. So when we talk about a place being made, it's a place that people are going to spend more time in. They're not just going to breeze through there. They're not just going to stop for a second and move on. You've got a spot for them to be comfortable, feel safe, that's active, there are other people around. So we are really increasing tons of time at the monument. The other thing that was happening down there is we were getting people to talk to each other. So and we're doing the same kind of survey data now with our work at City Market and other places, and we're seeing that all of this placemaking increases the amount of time that you spend and also the amount of people that you talk to, the conversations that you have, especially with people that you don't know. We're going to talk about this a little bit more, but that's a big key to our work, and that's social cohesion, and that's connection with other community members, and that's building strength in your neighborhood, and that's also about resiliency in a community. So people who are isolated and don't know each other in their neighborhood or even just in general are not as safe and they're not as happy. So those are things that can come from building this kind of connection. And public spaces and civic spaces are central to that kind of thing. So here are some more data on how many people we had sitting out there. So lots of people saw each other and stuck around, and we were tripling at least the number of people who were out at any given time. So we walked around, and this is the kind of stuff you can do with some of your projects. Count, just count. And so now we have a lot of these things. If any of you guys ever had an association with basketball, or they do it in all sports, there's like a shot chart, and where you mark that somebody's shooting a layup or a three-pointer. We do that with where people are sitting. So we have these shot charts on clipboards, and we go out certain times and mark that. Back to what we've been saying, the reason that people want to be somewhere is because other people are there. And that's the number one reason. But they also want lots of choices and activities, and they like to be in a visible place where they can see what's going on, and it's pretty, and it's, an amazing spot. An example of an activity that we did down there that was very successful was that we would, for free, let people write postcards to anybody they want, and they were historic postcards. Some of them were new, designed by artists, and then we would mail them anywhere in the world. So that sometimes you could take a black and white one. That's what that is. That's a view of the monument that you can color in. But if you don't want to color it, you can take one that's already colored, and you can write a note, and you just give it to us. And every question they would ask about the postcard thing, pretty much, we would say, yeah, yes would be the answer. The pretty much was, can I have all the postcards? We'd say, no, you can have this many. So that was, but otherwise, pretty much no rules. So one thing that's nice about postcards is that you can track where they're going. So we logged the zip codes in the countries, and we were able to say where they all went all over the place. So some other stuff that we've been working on the last couple of years, we've been at the state fair doing this placemaking zone on a parking lot. We've been working on this box that we saw that was at Monument Circle. It's called the Wagon of Wonders, and it goes around. I'm going to show you a little bit about this. So the State Fair one is a pretty good example of how we were able to use this power of 10 and give people lots of choices. So when you go to the State Fair, there's already a lot of choices, but most of them are linked to buying something. So most of what we were doing here is offering the opportunity for people to just have a recreational experience and not have to worry about buying something. So we had a soccer field with straw bales on the edge. We had lots of activities and games, and people just enjoyed themselves. And these are all the kinds of tools that are kind of in our toolkit that we can take anywhere and pop the stuff up. And it's cheap stuff for the most part. You can make those Jenga things out of 2x4s. People love foosball. That's not necessarily super cheap. But we were able to acquire these things with different grants and stuff. And what we do with the State Fair is we just charge them for the stuff that we bring out there. And the budget that we charge is a tiny bit compared to what they pay to have Pitbull or somebody perform. So they take some of that budget, and which is kind of astronomical, and they take a little sliver of it, and then we have this going every day. And so these are human scale, people activities. People of all ages love to color this Frida stuff. They learn about art, they get involved, and they can make lots of choices. And then we see lots of smiles, so that's a big thing where we know we're succeeding. So I'm going to breeze through some other stuff real quick. So City Market, we were able to convert this East Plaza from kind of this bleak thing to what you'll see now over there. If you go over, especially on a Wednesday, but pretty much every day, East Plaza has become greener, more comfortable. So bocce is great for playing bocce, but also kids run around on that. It's an alternative to having hardscape, and then lots of seats. The bistro chairs that are out are flexible, so you can move them, you can cluster them together, you can have a group of 10 people. So having a big, heavy picnic table gives you less choices. Having bistro chairs that you can move give you more choices. So everything is designed around giving people choices and being basically just sweet to people and nice to people and not telling them no. That used to just be, if you remember, a really crappy fountain that was always had standing water. They had to put like a metal stanchion in there that I guess covered them from liability or something because it was just trashed. So we also built portable parklets and made a lot of changes to the space just to make it more comfortable and fun. So here's some more keys and lists. So when you're staffing or hosting, I'm going to call them hosts because a lot of times they're volunteers in communities. This needs to be, if it's your art or your passion versus just work, you can tell when people are excited about it, they want to include you. It's always good to call things a test, say it's temporary, but you know that the goal is long-term change, and you can explain that. But when you're working with right-of-way or with even with privately owned property, if you say it's going to be a test and it's just temporary, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with what you're doing, and they're not going to worry that you're going to change everything for good. It's really great to do these non-commercial things. So when we worked in places like Lafayette Square, at the State Fair, and even at Garfield Park, having it be a non-commercial free option is really great, and you're also supporting the commercial things that are happening because you're helping develop those businesses. The same was on Monument Circle. All ages and backgrounds. Don't make your postcards just for kids and just for adults. Make them for everybody. And if you want to do placemaking, choose a place where people are already coming through, where you're not going over here and trying to draw everybody to you. So if you have a place in your neighborhood where you already have some foot traffic and some visibility, that's where you want to start. People are attracting people. We already talked about the power of 10, and always have food and drink. Keep your activities human scale. Always keep in mind that streets are public places, so you can take lanes away like we did on Monument Circle, and you can really think about how you can use the street, the sidewalk, because it's already very visible. Figure out how to slow people down, how to make it sticky. When people see other people, even when they're in cars, they'll slow down. Encourage empathy and be empathetic yourself. What would you want to see in a space? What kind of the golden rule? Like, how would you want to be treated? And if you're working with people and you're doing a booth or you're having an activity, stand up, greet people. Don't just, your body language says a lot about how excited you are about things, and so do the tiny details like what you see at Disney World. There's a piece of trash, there's some kind of person who swoops in and picks it up immediately, right? So that's what we want to do too in these spaces. Highlight the cultural diversity, which we talked about, and it's always important to document what you do, to count and reflect, but also to take pictures and to really be able to reflect back on what you're doing and what you've done so you can revise the next time. And debrief about it with your partners and with your community members and say, what worked, what didn't work, what should we do better next time? A couple more slides and then I'll be done. So, this picture is of Eduardo Luna. Anybody met Eduardo before? So he's an awesome guy who's been working with us for a long time. So him being at the table, this is at Feast of Lanterns, really embodies what we're talking about. He's standing there, he's paying attention, he's always very friendly, and you can just tell that he cares. So I'm going to show you all the slides that we're not going to talk about. Garfield Park, stop by sometime. It's Soup Factory. It's open every day, 9 to 6. These are the kind of things that happen down there. These are the last couple of years of what we've been doing. We are a community art center and a place where lots of things happen. So the last thing I want to talk about is about the importance of social resiliency and social cohesion. This is a study by a guy named Donald Appleyard who was in the 70s in San Francisco. He's studying quiet streets, medium streets, and busy streets. And what this is it's sort of like our shot chart. This is people showing the connection between relationships that they have on their block. So when you think about your neighborhood, when you think about what you're trying to accomplish, what these places where I feel it's home, the streets are their home, the public place, which is the street in between, that's what you get in a place that doesn't have a lot of fast traffic. But it's not only traffic or speed on the street that is limiting, this could also be a park that's in a neighborhood, this could also be a vacant lot that's in a neighborhood, and what needs to happen is breaking down the barriers between the people that live here and the people that live here. And the barrier in a fast street is really the traffic down here. And see how few relationships exist? That's like across 38th Street or across in our neighborhood in Raymond or Shelby. But you can bridge those gaps in other ways, and you can make that happen. So creating a network, connecting people, keeping it active and accessible, those are ways of fostering connections. And connect people, all the data and all the studies show when people have connections and networks, they're safer, they're happier, and they have a lot better chance of success. That's what you guys are doing when you're in this program, that's what you're doing in your communities, that's what's happening every day, and that's how you get successful people. If you want to learn more, have more than a half an hour, you read these books. Cities for People is really great. Jan Gehl is awesome. From Denmark, knows a lot of stuff. That's an expensive book, but that's a good investment. Okay? Sometimes it's used as a textbook, but it's not like $100. It's maybe $60. This little Jane Jacobs book is not expensive. This one is not expensive. I recommend all those. And then David English is an Australian guy we brought in. You can go to bigheart.org or go to and find our Vimeo page, and you can hear some talks by him. He's amazing. The book has kind of a weird cover, but I think the idea of it was that it's, kind of kid-friendly, but it's not a kid's book. He says a lot of awesome things. The Tactical Urbanism book is another good one. And this is a book called Learn and Love You More by Harold Fletcher and Miranda July, and they did a lot of activities that bridged community and built people together, and you can get a lot of ideas from that book. Another thing I recommend, when you're working with your group in your neighborhood, when you go out someplace in this city, in other cities, take pictures, keep a little notebook of things that you see working. So just like that donut shop, or in your own kitchen, what is it about those places that makes it work for you? And keep that in mind and think about it. These are two places that I really love that I was lucky enough to visit. If you want to find more stuff about us, follow us on Instagram and stuff. And that's it. Thank you very much. Questions?
What was that book you said that was used like a textbook?
Jan Gale, they have a nonprofit too, and I think you can get, there's a lot of their material that is also available online. But that book is really great. And this David English one on the left is, you can get it on Amazon for like $3. Also, if anybody wants to check out, we don't have a way to check it out of our space, but we have a reference library with these books in it, and you can come in to the Tube Factory and you can hang out and read them. We just keep them there on hand. So all these books are on hand, and you can come down there anytime. Yes?
How big is Big Car? How many employees?
So how big is Big Car and how many employees? We have about 15 people. We have a board too, and we have a lot of volunteers. Of the 15 people, a little more than half or around half are full-time, and a lot of people are part-time. And so we increase work at different times of the year. So sometimes we'll have more people. And then a lot of times, like with Callie, when we were doing Monument Circle, we went and hired a bunch of younger people who, not in all cases, there's various people who had flexible schedules, and we had 30-some people who were working on that. Additionally, maybe even more, who were working down there pretty much all the time. What else? Yes?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Sure.
I live in the International Marketplace area I was talking about, and every year for National Night Out, we usually have like a kitchen and a couple people bring their grills, and then we contact local businesses to see if people want to give us free stuff to give to the kids, and we have games and a pinata, and this year, I think we had about like 8 people show up.
Yeah.
But, we kind of tended to have the same people, and we hand out flyers in Spanish and in English, so let's try to work to have our, bring more people in, so we can get to know everybody. So.
Yeah, a lot of what I was talking about is really addressing marketing challenges, so it's not easy to get people to come to things. I think one of the keys that I will reinforce is that going to Big Heart's whole mission is to bring arts people and people to art. So we don't expect to bring people to us, we are bringing art to them. And that's part of how we can explain our name, is that we're a mobile organization by nature. And so a lot of that mobility gives us an opportunity to go where you are, to go to Feast of Lanterns, to go to City Market, to go work in Fort Wayne, to go out to International Marketplace, and to just be around and move. Because the difficult thing is to say, we're doing this here at this time, I need all you people to come here now and then. And it's, this doesn't work with their life. And so where can you be at you've got people getting off the bus, you've got people riding by on a bike, you've got people walking to go to another business where you can kind of intercept them and get them to stick around. Monument Circle is perfect for that. State Fair is perfect for that. Garfield Park is perfect for that. In some neighborhoods, it's hard because you don't have foot traffic at all because everything's built around driving. But you can find the places where you do get a little bit. And, we were really lucky where we were in August, but there are rare instances of a place like that that can be kind of a nexus of activity. Yes?
You said something about, in your last list, you talked about the pro tent, and then you said triangulate. What is
Oh
that?
yeah, no, I don't think so triangulation is really about what we were just talking about, which is finding these nexus points where there's lots of things that come together. Which one that was. So that's triangulation, and really like how a developer might choose to put a development center, because there's the energy of a park, school, and visibility because they're on a primary street or something like that. So it's really about about a triangle of energy that you can be in the middle of and be part of. So when we were doing our work at the Tube Factory, we have the triangulation of the Red Line, Garfield Park, and there's way more than 3 things, but those are 3 big things. Additionally, you've got a really pretty solid neighborhood area on one part. You've got some struggling area too, but there's a very supportive neighborhood community. There's the park itself as an asset, and then you have Shelby Street, which is getting better because of the Red Line. And then we're there now too, so then we're able to be part of that. You go and we've tried some stuff in a fairly isolated area, like we did some work on the Far East Side in a grocery store, and we tried to find the triangulation in that place. One of those things being the grocery store, but beyond that, there wasn't a lot of other stuff. So it was more of a challenging area.
Where was that at?
That was at the Mexican grocery store at Mithofer and 38th. What's that? 38th and Mithofer. So that the parking lot out there was like got all kinds of big craters in it. So we were inside there where there was a couple of had been like a check cashing and a hair salon on the right when you go in. Then we go over to the check cashing.
Was this recently?
It was called Galleria Magnifica. That was in 2013, probably. We also did a thing called Fun Fleet, where we went around to all of the apartment complexes with and we have an artist who's part of our group. His name is Jared Dortch. He lives right out in the neighborhood.
So would you come back?
We'd like to. It was an experiment that we thought was successful,
Yeah, because I live on the Far East Side, and that's something I wish I could see more of, stuff like this. We don't get any kind of festivals.
Yeah, we were working with the Glick Fund on that, and Cafe at that point, and I think what the conversation is still an active one, but I think that they felt like we were maybe ahead of ourselves with the art piece, but our feeling has always been that it should be part of things. So, we'd always be interested in picking that back up. Okay, thanks everybody.
All right, thank you, Jim. It's a little bit after noon, and so my stomach's growling, so I'm sure yours is too. So we'll get you out on time. I do want to thank INRC and the Soul Center here for hosting us today, Channel 16 again for being here. A couple of my staff, so Callie has been the one harassing you to be here. She's also done a lot of the nuts and bolts of putting this together, so thank you, Callie. Jessica Thorpe is our land use planner. She's here with us, and Daniel Hedgelin is joining us too. We also have Macy Moore from the city's Office of Sustainability, and so we're doing the partners with us on this Thriving at this land. And so over the next week, if you're part of the Thriving Gateway Challenge, or even if you're not, I just ask you to think about how your intervention, your project that you're thinking about for your neighborhood addresses some of these big issues. And so how does it improve some of the systemic challenges that have faced many of our neighbors and many neighborhoods across time? How can we use that small-scale investment to build vitality and build energy and build economy for our people? How do we build on the assets that are there, build on the people that are there, and also how we can transform our place so it's more about people. So those are some aspects of resiliency that I hope that you've learned a little bit about today, and can use these ideas, these case studies, these examples, concepts to build better projects. Even if you're not building a project with us, that you can take these ideas and build better neighborhoods. And so, thank you again for joining us, and summary, we will see you next Saturday. Thanks.
Thanks.